the greatest female pharaoh, Hatshepsut, ancient Egypt. In a land of gods and gold where power was passed from man to man like sacred relics, one woman stepped out of the shadows of the temple, wearing a false beard. What does it take for a 12-year-old princess to marry her 15-year-old half-brother, become queen, then rise above every man in the kingdom to claim the throne? How did this woman, born into privilege but surrounded by premature funerals, ascend not only to Egypt's highest office, but change the course of history? Why did she tell the world her father was possessed by a god on the night of her conception? And who was this mysterious commoner, Senenmut, that she entrusted with her legacy, and maybe even her heart? Join us as we unravel a pharaonic tale of divine deception, architectural ambition, botanical brilliance, and a cosmetic invention that quite literally left a mark. From the moonlit rise of Ahmose I and the blazing birth of the new kingdom, to the daring woman who planted trees from distant lands, wore eyeliner made of scorched perfume, and ruled without drawing her sword. This is not your ordinary pharaoh story. Once upon a time, in the dusty corridors of ancient Egyptian history, a boy named Ahmose was born to Pharaoh Sekenenre II and Queen Ahotep I, a royal couple from Thebes who were about as fed up with foreign invaders as a cat is with water. The name Ahmose means the moon is born, and oh boy did he shine. Ahmose's family tree was a tangled vine of royal blood and sibling marriages, because ancient Egypt said, "Why outsource royalty when you can keep it in-house?" His brother Kamose died young, leaving Ahmose to inherit the throne at just 10 years old. Imagine being a tween with a crown and a vendetta. His upbringing, a crash course in vengeance. The Hyksos, foreign rulers from the north, had taken over Lower Egypt and were throwing parties in Avaris like they owned the place. Ahmose, fueled by the memory of his father's gruesome death, his mummy shows battle wounds that scream, "Hyksos did it," decided enough was enough. So what did he do? He booted the Hyksos out, reclaimed Egypt, and said, "Let's build stuff." He reopened mines, revived trade routes, and launched construction projects like a pharaoh possessed. His only real blunder? Possibly trusting too many generals and not living long enough to see the full fruits of his labor. But hey, he laid the foundation for Egypt's new kingdom, its final golden age. Fast forward to 1508 BC, and the royal nursery welcomed a baby girl named Hatshepsut, daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose I and Queen Ahmose. Yes, another, Ahmose. Egypt loved recycling names. Her name meant foremost of noble ladies, and she was born with enough royal blood to make a crocodile bow. She grew up in the opulent courts of Egypt, surrounded by gold, gods, and siblings who, tragically, didn't stick around long. Her sister and 2 brothers died young, leaving Hatshepsut as the surviving star of the royal show. When her father died, likely of natural causes, though ancient gossip suggests divine intervention, his throne passed to Thutmose II, Hatshepsut's half-brother. But here's the twist. Thutmose II was the son of a lesser wife, Mutnofret, which made his claim to the throne shakier than a pyramid built on sand. To legitimize his rule, Thutmose II needed a queen with pure royal blood. Enter 12-year-old Hatshepsut, who married her 15-year-old half-brother in a union that screamed dynastic necessity more than romance. Together they had one daughter, Neferur, while Thutmose II had a son, Thutmose III, with a lesser wife named Iset. In 1479 BC, Thutmose II died unexpectedly at the tender age of 31. Ancient whispers suggest illness, but some say the gods were clearing the stage for a bigger act. His son, Thutmose III, was just 3 years old, barely old enough to hold a scepter, let alone rule an empire. So Hatshepsut stepped in as queen regent, the royal babysitter with a crown. Imagine being born with a royal resume that reads like a dynasty soap opera. Daughter of a pharaoh, sister to a pharaoh, wife to a pharaoh, and mother to a future pharaoh. That was Hatshepsut, Egypt's ultimate power package. Her father was Thutmose I, her half-brother husband was Thutmose II, and her stepson was Thutmose III. If ancient Egypt had linked in, her profile would have crashed the server. Was she the first with this kind of pedigree? Not quite. Earlier queens like Ahotep I had impressive credentials, but Hatshepsut's combination of bloodline, marriage, and motherhood gave her an unprecedented claim to the throne. She wasn't just royalty, she was royalty squared. After 7 years of playing regent to her toddler stepson, Hatshepsut looked around and said, "Why babysit the throne when I can sit on it?" So she declared herself Pharaoh, a move so bold it made the gods blink. This was not normal. Egypt's throne was a boys-only club. Even when women ruled, they did so as regents or co-rulers. But Hatshepsut went full Pharaoh, adopting male titles, wearing the false beard, and commissioning statues that showed her with a masculine physique. She didn't just break the mold, she melted it down and recast it in her image. To silence the skeptics, Hatshepsut pulled the ultimate trump card, divine legitimacy. She claimed she was the daughter of Amun, the Egyptian god of air, creation, and mystery. Amun was the Beyoncé of the Egyptian pantheon, ubiquitous, powerful, and worshipped across the land. According to her story, Amun possessed her father's body on the night of her conception and impregnated her mother, Queen Amose. Risky? Absolutely. But it worked. She wasn't just a ruler, she was heaven sent. Enter Senenmut, a commoner turned royal superstar. He was overseer of royal works, tutor to her daughter Neferura, and mastermind behind her architectural legacy, including the jaw-dropping temple at Deir el-Bahri. How did they meet? Likely in the royal court, where his brilliance caught her eye. Their relationship was so close that rumors swirled about a secret romance. Graffiti found near her temple even depicts a man and woman in a compromising pose. Ancient tabloid fodder, if you will. Architectural marvels. She built like she had a personal vendetta against empty landscapes. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri remains one of Egypt's greatest wonders. Trade expedition to Punt. She sent ships to the legendary land of Punt, reviving trade routes dormant for centuries. Propaganda campaign. She flooded Egypt with images of herself as a male pharaoh, rewriting the visual language of power. Unlike her warrior father and husband, Hatshepsut didn't lead troops into battle. Why? Because a woman in armor was inconceivable to the patriarchal elite. So she pivoted, using the military not for conquest, but for commerce. Her expedition to Punt was a masterstroke. The location? Still a mystery, possibly Somalia or Eritrea. The drama? Oh, it was cinematic. The fleet returned with gold, ivory, incense, live myrrh trees, and even exotic animals. Egypt rejoiced, and Hatshepsut's legacy was sealed in frankincense and glory. In the annals of ancient history, where kings were busy conquering lands and building pyramids, Hatshepsut was out here doing something no one had dared before: transplanting trees. Yes, trees. Not just any trees. 31 live myrrh trees from the mythical land of Punt, each cradled like royal infants in baskets filled with native soil. Picture this: a fleet of ships sailing back to Egypt, not with slaves or spoils of war, but with potted trees, their roots swaddled in baskets like botanical burritos. It was the first recorded instance in history of successfully relocating foreign flora. And where did she plant them? Right in the courtyards of her mortuary temple, Deir el-Bahri, where they thrived like leafy trophies of diplomacy. But Hatshepsut wasn't done redefining royal glam. Among the treasures from Punt was frankincense, a resin so sacred it made priests swoon. Hatshepsut, ever the innovator, charred it and ground it into powder, creating the world's first kohl eyeliner. Cleopatra may have had her style, but Hatshepsut was the original beauty influencer. Eyeliner with a divine backstory. The expedition also brought back a zoo's worth of exotic animals. Apes that probably threw shade, panthers that prowled like royalty, and giraffes that made Egyptian necks crane in awe. These creatures weren't just novelties, they were symbols of Egypt's reach, proof that Hatshepsut's empire could touch the edges of the known world. Flush with wealth and prestige, Hatshepsut turned her gaze to architecture. She commissioned hundreds of projects across Egypt, from Upper to Lower Nile. Her pièce de résistance, the Karnak temple complex, where she erected twin obelisks of pink granite, one of which still stands today as the tallest surviving obelisk in Egypt. She even tried to outdo herself with a larger obelisk, but alas, granite had other plans. Cracks formed, and the project was abandoned. Today, the unfinished obelisk lies in its quarry, a monument to ambition and ancient engineering, complete with chisel marks and ochre lines that whisper secrets of stonework. Then came her magnum opus, the mortuary temple of Djeser, meaning Holy of Holies. Carved into the cliffs of Deir el-Bahri, it's a symphony of symmetry, a temple so grand it made later pharaohs weep with envy. Its walls tell tales of her divine birth, her expedition to Punt, and her unshakable claim to the throne. After her death in 1458 BC, Hatshepsut's stepson, Thutmose III, launched a campaign to erase her from history. Statues were smashed, cartouches defaced, and her name scrubbed from monuments. But curiously, he waited 2 decades to do it. Why? Some say it was political, others suggest it was to prevent future female rulers from challenging the patriarchy. Still, her legacy endured. Her mummy, buried in the Valley of the Kings, revealed she died of bone cancer, possibly worsened by carcinogenic ointments she used. Ironically, the woman who pioneered eyeliner may have been undone by her own cosmetics. Hatshepsut wasn't just a ruler. She was a visionary, a builder, a botanist, a beauty icon, and a political genius. She defied gender norms, rewrote the rules of kingship, and left behind a legacy that not even chisels could erase.